Hello. Are you silent
Hi.
this morning?
I wasn't sure. I love it. Like, I think no matter where I go in my apartment, the sun is always going to be coming in. Like, I can't fight it. I have two long windows, like a loft style apartment. So
Yeah.
I don't have any ability to get light from any other direction. And it just comes all the way in here.
But my question is, do you have blinds?
Yeah, I've got blinds. They're
But
not, they're not blackout blinds, but they're blinds. They're like yeah, they're down.
oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, okay. That's the first. Okay, interesting. That's okay. That's okay. You just
But don't I look fabulous?
fabulous on the what is that left side of your face?
I don't know. Vogue, Vogue, Vogue.
I think you know what side of the face it's on. But anyway,
Yeah, I know. How are you?
I'm pretty
Good
good.
morning.
Yeah, I did. I forced myself this morning for the first thing that I do when I get up is do a little bit of exercise. So for about not very long, but I just like, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, I just did some kind of somewhat random boxing and kickbox style workouts. So a little bit of a hit
Yeah.
style workout, which was good. But you know what? Like, I gotta force myself to do that in the morning. It just sets the tone for your day. And I know that is so obvious, but God, like just to push ourselves, so stubborn, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh,
anyway,
for sure.
I did that this morning. I'm drinking my coffee. I have two of my bestest buds aside from you coming on the show, which is also fabulous. So it's a pretty good Tuesday so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really happy that we have our first follow-up.
Before,
I'm doing, yeah. No, for sure. I'm doing well. I mean, I had a shower this morning, so that's a win. It makes it sound like I'm a parent of a young infant and I have no chance to shower in the morning. So, yay, great. I guess I'm more paternal than I thought. I've got my gorgeous aquamarine
oh,
ring on me that I bought in Barcelona in 2017. So I'm wearing that today.
you know that's my favorite crystal.
Really, aquamarine.
That is stunning.
And then this is my Aqua Aura Danbarite, which is normally a clear crystal, but it's coated in 24 karat gold, so it then turns it into this Aqua Aura.
Hello. Oh
Yeah.
my.
So I'm like blued up.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Like
What
I've got a double blue job today.
what is that? Does that supposed am I supposed to get is that what does that mean?
Probably not.
Okay. I get it. Okay. Okay. Okay.
I think the exercise endorphins have gone to your head.
No, not really. You're supposed to like are you trying to say blowjob, but you said blue.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, never mind. But because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, but they're hopping
Yeah.
a second here.
Yeah,
And
introduce our guest, please.
introduce our guests as I lose my voice. So Ben Konkin is probably someone, hopefully someone that whomever's been listening to us or watching our episodes for a couple months now are familiar with, because Ben was actually on episode 16 with us in November. So it's been what, 2 months ish.
I can't believe it's been 2 months already, and with the most iconic pre-introduction as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so that was around Black Friday. So around Mr. Shopaholic of the shoes, Hero was trying to get his Vessi shoes. Okay, that is like a little bit of an offshoot of what I was going to talk about. But anyway, yeah, that was an interesting intro. So if you haven't watched that episode, watch the intro as well, because you might just fall over laughing. So it is quite humorous. But so Ben is one of my dear friends, lives fairly close to me up here in the Okanagan in BC. We both kind of grew up in the same area together in North Vancouver, also in BC. And he's married to someone that I've known longer than Ben, Julia. So Ben came on our show. I wanted him on the show because he had just started a nonprofit, not-for-profit organization called the Scleroderma Network of Canada. I'm probably just butchering that. Scleroderma Network. I think he was not sure what to call it, but it's called the Scleroderma Network. Network? Good grief. I'm totally off today. And he has scleroderma. So scleroderma is also known as systemic sclerosis, which affects all of the tissue in your body. And so it's an autoimmune disorder or disease, I should say, with no, actual cure. And it basically, what it does, and he'll explain it a bit more, is it hardens all the tissue in your body. So imagine like all the soft tissue that surrounds all your organs, like everything. I mean, aren't your organs soft tissue as well themselves?
Yeah. Your skin is an organ. It's your whole body.
Exactly. So, so it's so hard for me to talk about it because it's quite a devastating disease. And he was so open and vulnerable. We're so gracious for him to come on the show and talk about what he deals with on a daily basis back in November, and also just to introduce his foundation to us and with the public, which was awesome. So we'll talk about the foundation a bit more with Ben, and there'll be ways, if you do feel that you're in the position that you can donate to the foundation, that would be beyond amazing. But what we wanted to do this time is actually bring on his unbelievably amazing, loving, caring, stunning wife, Julia, on the show, who, because we talked to people who might be going through these terrible, devastating things in their lives, but the people that support them, that are there on a daily basis, that are there, they are their support network. Like we don't really get to talk to the people that are there with alongside someone who's going through this. So, and Julia was very gracious and open to coming on the show and just talking about their relationship and just the strength that they have together, and, what it's been like for both of them to go through this journey together. But also, not just the scleroderma side, they are like, honestly, one of my favorite couples ever. And I've said this.
I can see why, just knowing one half.
I'm now almost 38 years old. And my whole life, any couple I've ever met, they are by far one of my most favorite couples. Their love is like beyond what love is on this earth. Like I can't even, okay, now I'm just like putting them on a pedestal, but honestly, I adore these people. And I find them just very inspirational for not just what he's going through, but also as in a relationship and as a couple, and going through these times during the pandemic, mm-hmm. and being so solid still. Like I adore them. So anyway, that's my little introduction to these two human beings that I adore so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I noticed about Ben when he was on our first episode as well is how genuinely compassionate and non-assuming he was. And the ability to be so humble and gracious. I think you said gracious as well. How humble and gracious he was, even into welcoming me into his life, considering I was the third wheel initially to start with the conversation. And not in a negative way, but in terms of being like two people that know one another, and then me being the foreign person. It was amazing that he actually took time to watch your episodes while he was in the hospital, and also come on and be like, here, I feel like I know you already, like you, right? And so I think that's really incredible, because this is someone that wouldn't say anything unless they really meant what they said, right? That's the bottom line. Yeah,
and I think that we, with that being said, he's someone that really embodies perhaps what we want to get across on the show.
Yes.
Being, and as like exactly what you're describing right now, I'm like, yes, that's the type of person that we just adore sharing on this show. Mm-hmm. So I think he really has spoken to quite a few people from his first episode. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're just hoping, and they're going to be on any second here as we're just gushing.
Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Morning.
There's the juicy duo.
Yes, and there's the other incredible duo right there.
Oh, yeah. Equally as juicy, might I add.
I can totally say, I can already tell by you opening your mouth for 2 seconds, I can see why you two are meant to be, why you guys are meant to be together.
Thank you. Ben is here. He's just come calming himself down a little bit, so he'll join in once he's ready and comfortable.
She's being polite. I'm in the brink of a panic attack right now, so I'm just gonna fight through.
Yeah.
Oh, my honey, it's all good. And we did a little intro just before you guys popped on, and I was just saying, hopefully people have watched the first episode, and they haven't, please go back and watch that episode. And I just basically was gushing about not just Ben, but the two of you guys, and I kind of said, scleroderma aside, and I've said this to your faces before, but scleroderma aside, just having you on as a couple and the embodiment of just what a phenomenal, loving relationship looks like. Like you literally are, and I'm not just saying this because we're recording, but you literally are my favorite couple of all time. Like,
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Honestly, like not just because of what you guys have gone through, but I feel like you both are just so inspirational, I think, for people to look up to. Again, scleroderma aside, but just as a relationship, as a couple, as a unit, right? So there was multiple reasons why we wanted you both on the show. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. But Julia, welcome, because we did welcome Ben on the first. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you. I just woke up this way,
I know, me too, girlfriend. You and I are already so close to the same tree.
Like, I know this is a podcast, but I know people are watching. So, I mean, how often do I actually get to put makeup on and do my hair nowadays? Like, never. So.
Right, exactly. You're loving it. You're loving the camera on me? No.
I could not agree more. Actually, it's funny because recently we didn't do it this episode prior to you guys hopping on, but I was like, we need to do some sort of game as Hero and I just say, hey, what's on your lap this morning? Because, everything's from here up, right? So we were kind of doing a guessing game is like, okay, what's on your lap this morning? What's on your lap? Are you wearing pants? Like, ridiculous shit, because that's just, so anyway, It's nice to have this up, notified a little bit.
I definitely have yoga pants on. There are pants.
I was gonna say, are you wearing makeup down below the waist?
Not something I've ever done, but
inquiring gay minds want to know. What are your drag secrets?
Oh, I have many.
Clearly.
What below the waist look like? I'm picturing like one of those. Okay, we're totally getting off topic here a little bit, but those pop-up. Have you seen those pop-up penis books? Have you ever seen?
No.
I have
Heard of.
I have one.
Isn't it funny that he's heard of them and I'm like sitting here just totally oblivious.
Okay. But I should say it's not like it's a pop-up book where like, oh, you open a page, it's like, oh, a pop-up penis shows up. No, it's like every page has a hole in it, and it's like and it's a gag gift.
I have it. It's in my bathroom right now.
Is turning pages hard?
Yeah, turning pages is very, very hard. Very much so. And you put your two fingers through it, it's like you're fingering the puppet to show the interaction. Like, it's great.
Okay.
It's called Little Penis.
It is called Little Penis.
Yeah. Watch Little Penis grow as you turn the pages one by one.
Oh, okay. So anyway, when you said a makeup below the waist, I thought of like this penis popping through one of those books, and it's like, this sets the scene around the penis that's pretty. So if you never mind. Oh my God. Wow.
Perfect introduction. I love this. Let's get it.
Oh God. Oh my God. So you two, whom are only like 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
Dare I ask, how's it going?
Well, we've been pretty solid into this since February, so
yeah,
we looked forward and we're like, yeah, this we're not outside the realm of where we expected to be right now. So we're not one of those 20 people who hit 2021 is like, oh, thank God it's over. But we're very settled in for a long haul. We know this is going to be
Yeah.
year more, 2 years probably before we know what life's going to be like.
Yeah.
Like for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting how and I think that was the problem, or that always is the problem with New Year's, about that turning from one year to the next and just thinking like magically everything's going to change. Or, I kind of stopped doing New Year's resolutions or intentions. It's more just like life intentions, or, and I was actually saying to people this year, happy continuation of 2020. Hey, cynical, but it's like, that's just, yeah.
I think for me, like I had, a life intention to take more time for myself and be happy this year. And just choose happiness whenever I can, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in all the drama that is going on in the world and all of the drama and the trauma,
Totally.
it's
triple word score there for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and it's and that I think is what is so inspiring. You kind of like hit the nail on the head about choosing happiness. I know you guys haven't always been able to choose happiness with your journey, but I feel like you maybe just because of what you've gone through, you guys have been. What I'm seeing is like you're like the best at doing that, as from anyone I know. Now, I wonder, do you think it's when like something tragic or trauma strikes that you just kind of, it's like, well, what choice do you have, really?
Yeah, 100%. You do have a choice. You have a choice to wallow, or you have a choice to appreciate those moments. And thankfully, Ben and I feel like we're soulmates. And so it's a little easier for us to just, whenever we can, appreciate moments when we're safe and together and happy. You know what I mean? Because like in the last year, every single day I can think of something that, could have stressed me out for the entire day, mostly Ben's health, but also COVID, and so many other things. So I don't know. It's just really important to really appreciate those moments and appreciate the small things and don't let the stupid things get in the way.
well, in our relationship before COVID, before my illness, we always worked really hard at being true, honest, authentic, and having the hard conversations. And we both knew, this was our relationship, but we also both knew that it's not our like individually our lives anymore. We're now living a life together. And so like even from our first few months together, we were always working to understand what each other wants in a relationship and seeing how it fits, because it basically being selfless. We were trying to be as selfless as we could because we enjoyed our relationship more when we were brutally honest and understood the underlying things. So it set us up to be in a good position here because there weren't skeletons in the closet that came raining out when problems happened.
Yeah.
But then when you get sick, both of us have a choice. I had a choice to whether be like depressive and not do the work. And Julia had the choice to be like my champion and the person who saved my life, or the person who also would wallow. Like, not that it's a knock on her, but we both chose to be like, all right, we're going to fight. And we had that strong foundation of communication behind it that allowed us to fall back on it.
Don't get me wrong. We had days where we would wallow.
Oh.
There were days where you just need to, talk and cry and like sit on the TV. Bang my head against the back of the wall. Sometimes you need those days where you just can turn off your brain. You just can't do them too often, or else it becomes, it becomes ingrained in you and you don't realize it and you don't deal with it.
No.
So, yeah.
And Sorry, go ahead, Hero. I was going to say something, but yeah.
You set patterns very quickly, and it's very easy to set patterns and then not revert them. So to be able to catch them before they become patterns is what you're talking about, and that's important. And when you're talking about that as well, you know, chronic illness or even I would say childbirth in some ways can be such a different, two main things I can think of, both relating to women and to men or people, forget about gender, just people in general, where it can divide a marriage or divide a partnership within a moment's notice. And the fact that the two of you have taken that into the other direction, I think says a lot for other couples who might be going through different situations that they think are can't be resolved or that it's not worthy. And you're proving that fact it is worthwhile for any relationship that is out there, right? It puts things into major perspective.
Yeah. But I also think, and just to add to that, what you said about, you know, being, what did Ben, you said something about in the very beginning, being brutally honest with each other and just like that you set the tone. I would say that is incredibly rare for a couple, like in the first like few months to be that way with each other. Like that's usually that comes out. It's true. Like usually that stuff usually comes out like maybe months later, maybe a year later, and then you're like, okay.
During a pandemic.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So exactly. So I mean that's fantastic, not just fantastic advice, but obviously you two both of you just have that innately in you that it was just serendipitous. I guess you both just wanted that. You both were like that. And it just,
Yeah.
you know,
I think we probably from previous relationships, you know, learned a lot, and you know, we'd been friends for such a long time that it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know.
We knew. I always said Julia was the coolest chick I ever knew. Like back in the day when we were just on the ball team together and everything. So we always just had fun together, and it was a really amazing transition. But what I'm going to step back for a sec, Rachel, when you were going back to like the relationships, and you know, the thing is with relationships, not saying that, you know, people like COVID has been breaking people up and things, but I think COVID's been bringing people into reality more. Like we all have lived a pretty squishy life as far as major stress that we deal with on like compared to past generations. So I think when you come to hard times, who you are inside, you know, is truly comes out. And I think that person who you want to project to the world has a harder time keeping the reins. So you might be in a relationship with someone who's different than you thought before because they've never had or you've never had together to deal with things. So I look at it as, yes, I'm sad that people aren't doing well and not holding together, but it's really, for me, it's like, this is the path.
yeah.
Okay. Like, this is your path. Like, you have choices here. Like, are you going to work together and work things out, or are you going to like be happy, you know, or just people who are on their own? Like, are you going to choose to stay and work on the guidelines that the government set us? Or are you going to do your own thing because your narcissism is greater than your need to help the whole? Like, sorry.
But also, I think people are realizing who they are. And one thing that we realized going through the trauma of Ben's illness is, you know, life is too short. So I also wonder if people are going to take this and kind of have like a rebirth of their life. You know, yes, they're going through trauma and they're having to deal with issues, but it's because they, you know, suppressed their inner voice for so long, maybe, you know. And so it'll be interesting. I mean, there's still a rocky road ahead, but I hope that people will be able to appreciate the smaller things and just appreciate their lives more going forward once things, you know, are normal again.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, and sorry if this sounds, I don't know, not a very nice thing to say maybe, but I think that maybe a lot of those couples that have broken up or not together, maybe like that's a good thing, you know?
They're meant to be together.
Yeah.
that's just, you know, and that's kind of what you were saying, like just that this whole thing is kind of shined a light on, you know, things that, you know, couples maybe needed to work on, or, you know, just brought things out of the shadows, so to speak, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a real make or break time for a lot of people. It's just, I think it's just the issue I think has been is that we weren't ready. I mean, you're never ready, but it was like a real, like, fucking slap in the face. Okay, this is happening now. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's hard to deal with. Like, I mean, literally the month before Ben was diagnosed, we started trying to have kids. And, you know, like, that was a huge wake-up call, because it was like for a whole year, Ben was going downhill, and our lives were totally changed. And I think a lot of people are going to, you know, experience a very similar emotion and transformation from COVID. And you know, you realize that you can't, you know, your plans don't always go to plan. So and you have to be able to adapt, or else you're going to be miserable.
Yes.
You will be able to be miserable.
That's the other thing, holding on.
Yeah.
Like when you try to hold on to that life that you built your life around, when things ultimately permanently changed, that can quadruple your stress. I mean, let the river take you.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Because you talk about, again, you just put things into perspective. Even if for someone like myself that's been through a ton of life-altering situations at an early age, it doesn't matter if you've been through stuff in the past or if you've never before. This pandemic is something that none of us have faced, you know, and if people have faced it, then they're considerably a lot older than any of us combined, that are still managing to hold on. And there was this one commercial that I remember, I don't know if any of you saw it, but it was a commercial about this woman who was 100 or something years old and was born in 1920. And she was actually saying, I've been through the Spanish flu, I've been through SARS, I've been through H1N1, I've been through all these things, and now COVID. This is going to be another period, but I got through 4 of these. You can handle one. It's
Wow.
really powerful.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but for her, if she's born in 1920, one World War, but the aftermath of World War I, and then so I mean, it's crazy. I just have to ask, because I don't think I butchered it necessarily, but I just for people that don't know what scleroderma is and they're just watching this for the first time, may I ask you to explain
Cole's notes? So basically, immune. Sorry, Joe.
He says Cole's notes. Expect a 10-minute conversation. You know,
Let me give you
him talking.
Let me give you the short version. Get comfy. It's going to be a while. But it's an autoimmune disease. It causes your body to produce too much collagen, and that affects all of your soft tissue. So it's hardening your skin, your ligaments, your muscles, your organs. So I've been affected on all those things. My guts, my lungs, my heart. So I have gastrointestinal issues. I have skin issues. I have disabilities because of last time, I don't know if I showed you, this is my prayer hands now. So this hand is shrunk because of a wound that happened on my knuckle. And wounds just open up because your skin's tight. If you touch it to anything, it splits. And then because there's no flexibility, things just, anyways. And so I also have heart issues. So I've been dealing this past, since we've spoken, with problems of heart failure and lung disease. And the result of that is just having extreme difficulty breathing anytime I exert myself, stand up from the couch. So it's affected everything, to the extent that my vascular system, some of the veins in my eyes have killed my retina in spots. So I have blind spots in my eyes. Thankfully, none of them overlap. So I technically haven't lost any vision, but imagine wearing a pair of glasses that have a piece of goop on them all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it affects everything soft, thankfully not the nervous system, but yeah, everything from physical disability to heart disease, pulmonary hypertension. Yeah, if it's soft in your body, it's affected.
Wow. And are you 39?
39.
Okay. I just to put things into perspective, like, and I know that when we spoke last, you were just saying how rare this disease is, but not as rare as I thought, because you were kind of giving maybe ballpark numbers of maybe how many people, maybe not in the world or North America, actually are affected, but like how.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't remember the number exactly, but I do know that, you know, the scary thing is it's becoming a lot more prevalent, or at least it's being diagnosed more. I don't know. And it's becoming more prevalent in, you know, young people, where before it used to be, you know, all women who were, you know, in their 60s and up getting this disease. Now it's men, you know, young men in their 30s, which, you know, didn't really happen before. But yeah, I mean, we know of a few people in Kelowna alone that also have this disease that are, you know, under 40. So it's, yeah, it's becoming a lot bigger of a thing.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
What are they? That's crazy. Like, what? I guess they don't really know.
Yeah.
Well, they're just trying to figure out the disease itself right now. Like, again, because it's very rare and there's a very small pool of people to go through and there's limited funds to deal with it. So right now, like even like my doctor had said, if I was diagnosed with this 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have survived to today, because their knowledge of treatment of the disease has become so much more aggressive and changed so much. Like, and we're talking 2009.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
And this is where we are with this disease. Is it's,
and Ben was her
trial by error.
Ben was her first case of a young male that was diagnosed, and so I mean, it was hard, because thankfully she's a champion of a doctor, but she has recently, you know, since had more young cases, and
Wow.
I mean, thankfully she's learned a lot from Ben, but she's kind of like, oh, and, you know, now I've got this figured out. Not figured out, but, you know, it doesn't scare her as much.
Yeah.
The way that, you know, Ben scared her when he first
Is she
started showing signs
in Kelowna? Who is?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of things. They don't know exactly what brings on most autoimmune diseases, but they were saying that, you know, they are worried about lots of chemicals or silica. So like people who work in, you know, print or the oil industry or with cars or, you know, construction, like there's basically a lot of, you know, you either are going to get it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that usually it's brought on by, you know, a period of stress or who knows, a cold or something that, you know, just
we are speculating.
Yeah, we're totally speculating. But from what I've read, that's kind of what they're saying is, you know, a lot of people are predisposed to have the disease and something sets it off. So
like it lies dormant for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's like, it's crazy how, what was it not that long ago that this is sort of touching on what you said, but a little bit off tangent, but the DuPont company in the States, did you hear about like what they're putting in the water? And
they've done a lot. Like, well, that movie Dark Water just came out, and that was about them producing Teflon and poisoning the water and poisoning people, because Teflon was like a man-made chemical that just, as soon as it's in your body, it won't leave, and it causes cancer and all kinds of other terrible things.
Oh my
and
God.
they just falsified their numbers to make it okay.
And that wasn't even that long ago. And then it just makes me, what you said just makes me think about all the chemicals and the things that we really don't really know that are happening. What are they called them, like not super chemicals, but it was something like that. And it's not like people have stopped making them, so it's, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, we just saw a commercial the other day and we were laughing our faces off. It was that Glad Bags commercial. And it was basically like, I can't remember the exact slogan, but it was like, waste better.
Yeah.
Like, it basically, the whole thing was,
like,
we know
don't waste more, waste better. Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't leave your garbage bag half full. That's a third more of our terrible garbage bags you're throwing into the world. Like, we're just watching it in awe of like, what?
I know.
You're just admitting your product is terrible for the environment and you're putting blame on the user?
Wow.
Like, anyways, it's a crazy world we live in right now. And that was marketing slogan. So you have to imagine how bad that stuff actually has been for the environment.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anyways.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Sorry. And Hero, I feel like, did I cut you off before?
Oh, probably, but I'm fine with that. I've got a huge ass mouth. Sometimes it needs this to be fucking zipped.
I agree with that.
Shut up. Stupid bitch.
What?
Yeah, I know. I think Julia's feistiness is coming out in me right now. I think that's probably it. Mm-hmm. So let's take it back for a second. So you kind of talked about that you guys are friends first, but who found who first?
Well,
who looked at each other's first, above or below the waist?
Oh, well, Julia, I think we can safely say, initiated. Yeah.
Big surprise.
And it's like, she kind of pushed the door open like this much, and I like comedically fell through.
Oh my God, I can see that in a meaningful way, like in a heartwarming way. I can see that.
I definitely saw, qualities in Ben that, like he was a good friend of mine, and I tried setting him up with, some friends. He actually, like
I went on a few dates with some
people, and
setups.
And then one day, I set him up on a date that was like a lady that I worked with. It was her daughter, and I just realized that I didn't want it to go so well. So, yeah. And then one day after some drinks, I told him that I had feelings for him, and the rest is history. So, yeah.
I know that actually. I realized that you were, I knew that Ben, I think, had dated one of your friends, and we won't say names or anything like that, but I didn't know that whole story. That's cute.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Let's just say this might help people understand you two or get to know you two a little bit better. So I feel like you hadn't been dating for that long. What about this story I'm going to tell at the time of the story I'm going to tell? But you had known each other for a very long time. But it was I have said this story a few times, but it was my birthday and we went to sing karaoke.
Oh, yes.
Town, yeah, and we were down.
And we sang a song about the greatest song in the world, didn't we?
Yeah. It was some form of tribute to that song.
It was a tribute.
Absolutely. So you too, but this is the thing. You had only been dating. I feel like it wasn't even a year. It might not even have been like 6
months.
It was months at that time.
Yeah. So put into perspective, these amazing individuals. Okay, we've had a few drinks, whatever, in one of those karaoke rooms, and they choose this song, and they don't really tell anyone what the song is or that they know every fucking lyric and every like, vibrato and whatever, and they're just feeding off each other, but they sing Tribute by Tenacious D, and everyone's just blown away because they're just like so in sync with each other. They both know every single lyric. They're like feeding off each other. I wish I had that on video. I probably do somewhere, but I think that was literally the moment where everyone in that room was like, okay, yeah, they're each other's person. Like this is
it's true.
And that video is floating around Facebook somewhere.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, well, you know, you look through the book and we're both like, we saw it and we're like, I know that, I could do that. And
no, that's not how it happened. He's lying. We practiced. We were like, even if they don't have this song, we are going to sing it a cappella at Rachel's birthday. So yeah.
So this is at your birthday?
Yeah.
Rachel's birthday.
Oh my God. That's awesome. I would have been, wait, what birthday was it?
Oh God, Hero. Yeah, you would have been 5 years old.
I love that.
Have you guys been together now? How long have you?
That was 2013.
There you go.
Yeah.
So 8 years?
Sure. Is that the math?
Carry to 3.
Let's go with that, Hero. Good math.
2. Pet the power of who gives a fuck.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah. So that's no. I absolutely love that memory. So, yeah. I mean, I like I said, I wanted to make this episode a little bit more about your relationship than the disease itself. And just, but also, I guess for people that are dealing with having a partner that might be going through something that's, you know, challenging, whatever it may be, and to be by their side, like Julia has with Ben. What is your secret? Like, I don't even, she's like, I don't know.
Well, I will say that part of the secret is the fact that Ben has been so positive. Like, we're ridiculous and we tell each other we love each other probably 50 times a day, and I'm not even lying. Like, you know, we'll be in opposite sides of the house and one of us will just yell to the other, you know, I love you. You know, and so I think for us, we've always really shown a lot of appreciation. And when things do get rough, we have our, you know, disagreements, just like everybody does, but we come back and, you know, we talk about what caused it and try and, you know, be better and move forward. But we always love each other through everything. So, yeah.
Well, but there's also a big mutual respect that happens,
Yes.
like especially when you're dealing with something like a very serious disease that, you know, can take your, like, I've been sitting in a position where we didn't know if I was going to the hospital numerous times and if I was coming out, you know, so that's been a life we've lived a lot of. But people don't understand that the caretaker is dealing with this as hard, or if not harder, because of the helplessness than the person dealing with the disease. And me as like someone dealing with this disease, I've had to learn to curb my, you don't understand what I'm going through emotion, because she's going through it too. And it's taken me a while to deal with that. And I think that the fact that we're both becoming more and more understanding of the emotional trial that we both have to deal with. Anyways, caretakers do not get the credit. People always ask me how I'm doing and, hey, Ben, how's your... It's like, we're going through the same, if not more, together.
Well, and it's hard to say that, because even as Ben's like, oh, well, you know, she's going through it as much as me, I'm like, no, like, you know, I'm not, like, but it's true. You have to really understand that, you know, like, Ben is going through the disease and he has all of the, I don't know, the physical aspects of that, but the amount of stress that you take on, like, I felt for the longest time that I had lost myself, you know, because I've been working for so long. Like, I'm such a control freak that I, you know, took this on, and it was so hard to not have control over Ben's health, you know, and I was trying everything. And, you know, I'm sure that because I'm a control freak, it helped him a little bit, you know, like, there were definitely things that, you know, I helped uncover, and treatments that I helped uncover, that thankfully we had the trust of our doctor that, you know, even if she was opposed to an idea at the start, you know, it got into her head, and, you know, eventually IVIG, which she's on, is something that I kind of brought up early on. So, you know, it's tough because I've always needed help, outside help from like a counselor or something. And I really, if anybody's going through something like this and they are a caregiver, like you need to have somebody who is totally, you know, like impartial to everything that's going on that you can vent to or figure things out with. Because they will remind you that you need to secure your own oxygen mask before you secure that of somebody else. And that is something I still to this day struggle with, but I'm getting better, and Ben is helping me get better. And I think, as he was saying, we have this mutual respect. And, you know, we both, even though he's technically the sick one, we're both supporting each other a lot. So, yeah.
That's
I
really
don't know. That was a ramble. I don't know if that made any sense or answered your question.
No, it does. It does, because it's like, it's something that I continue to talk about and that I want to talk. I want us to have our own episode about it as well. But, you know, like I lost my brother from cancer over 15 years ago. And so being a 12-year-old, like 12 to 13, no, 11 to 12-year-old, and seeing my parents experience what they had to experience from being old enough and insightful enough, and then to see the effects it's had on them even to this day, and how it's affected me as their son, and then losing a sibling, and my only sibling that I've actually ever had. You see how the caretakers and how the people that are unwell go through that, and it's slightly different mentality because you are still an adolescent and then you're ill, as opposed to being a formed adult brain and then being ill. So that's slightly different, than I can't even wrap my head around that. But when it comes to those that are sick and have a caretaker, and then you have parents involved or a spouse, you're both going through it, you're all affected by it. So as you're saying, Ben might have the physical ailments and the emotional, but also not in a presumptuous way. Ben probably, I would say, you have a lot of guilt, right? There's a sense of like, fuck, I have this feeling of what I'm going through, and it's not your fault at all. And I'm not trying to trigger you. It's not your fault at all. But there's a sense of like, we're in this together, right? And just to further your point of saying, it's not just about how I'm feeling, it's about how Julia is feeling. It's about how we're feeling together. And that's the point that I'm stating, is the fact of we're in this together, right? And people, you're right, people need to understand that it affects everybody in the life of those people, not just the person that might be dealing with the illness, but also the person that's immediately supporting the person with the illness as well.
Yeah.
And, well, I definitely, like, some of my big breaks, in fact, my most recent real breakdown, I had a really bad, like one of the worst panic attacks I'd had about a month ago or just under. And it like was a full body itch, and it was the most painful one I can even remember, and most intense. And it was after a few things had been going on. I'd been going downhill with my heart and lungs. And so there was a lot of stress, but out of it, like I had a big, like, cried emotional talk with Julia about how I felt very guilty about how I'm bringing her like health down. Like, and it was one of these things where we just had to, like, I had to get it out, and we had to talk about it. And that's been in there before, but this time was the biggest. And I don't know, it's not that it changes much, except for the fact that she knows how I feel. And as soon as I know that she knows my deep, dirty guts feeling about something, then I remove the stress. I free it into the universe, because now I'm not alone in it. I'm not holding it in. It's out there. She understands it. And then for some reason, just talking about it allows me and us to just immediately start moving past that emotion.
Right. And that's, again, what I'm talking about, is setting a deep rooted pattern within your emotional regulation. And if you're going to make it a dysregulation, then you're setting that, you're setting that coding, really. Like, you're setting that DNA, that RNA in yourself to kind of go and say, this is something that needs to be avoided. So we're going to create all these pathways to divert from the situation. And then the brain goes and says, I actually forgot how to resolve it. So instead, you actually brought it up and you said, no, I'm going to face this head on. I'm going to be selfless in saying that I need to share this with someone that I care and love so much, and know that they're going to understand it enough. And even if they can't do much about it, at least it's out in the open, and you can purge and let that out. Because if you let it sit within you and you let it be implosive, then it's only going to make you more unwell, and it's then going to affect her.
And that's where the brutal honesty comes from that you have been trying to cultivate, I guess, since the very beginning of your relationship. And what I think a lot of people don't do, and I think, again, just bringing it back to the pandemic again, but I think more and more people have had no choice but to do those kinds of things, perhaps.
Yeah.
But
well, the cost of that is sometimes people don't want to see what's on the other side of that conversation or the other side of that emotion. And we just started doing that from the beginning and quickly realized how aligned we were and realized how much stronger our relationship was, no matter how hard the discussion was.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not in your wheelhouse, you don't do it in your relationship, and now you have to. It's scary to all of a sudden be vulnerable. And it's also like a lot of people fixate on, I think, what they have and who they are. And by having those conversations, and you might change it.
But call me naive, because I am very naive in a lot of ways, despite the shit that I've had to go through in my perspective. No, I am very naive. I joke around that I grew up gullible and I've graduated being naive. It's a slight increase. But ask my parents, they'll tell you everything that I thought was true. That is not. But anyway, but as I digress, I was going to say, what was I going to say?
call me naive, but
yes, sorry. Yes. Aren't all relationships supposed to be about vulnerability? Because all of mine have been. Not in a boastful way, but like that's just something that is so, I guess, how I've always been. So to know that a lot of relationships are not, and I know that they're not, is something that I think is really a result of maybe how we've been raised and conditioned by society and who has raised us. And it's not our fault.
yeah.
But at the same time, we are adults and have a responsibility to unpack that and to then relearn how to be the right kind of people to then have a meaningful relationship that's long lasting and sustainable. And vulnerability and transparency and honesty, humility, I think are those qualities that a lot of people you would think would have. Maybe they don't, or they do and they just don't know how to utilize them.
Agreed with that. And I just want to say one thing, because I know Hero quite well, and Hero, and I've told you this before, like you've always been more mature beyond your years. And I've even said this to you when I've heard you, being so open and honest with people you've been dating, or like, just being like, no, fuck this. I'm being myself. And this is, if you don't like it, then fuck off. Like this is just me. But that is not a common quality, I think. So it's, yeah, you definitely, you have something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily have. And I think I would say that most people are very scared to be vulnerable, and they're not vulnerable. So
Nothing to hide. Seriously.
Well,
People suck.
Well, it's so true.
People.
I'm learning that a lot. And speaking of, being like gullible and naive, like I'm definitely one of those people, because I have so much faith in humanity, and this year has taught me a lot.
No kidding.
No, but I think that people really, they're afraid to let out who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that we've been taught that. And if they can't even be vulnerable, like to themselves, how are they going to be vulnerable to a partner? But how can you expect to have a real, like, true relationship if you don't? Because, you want someone who will accept you for who you are no matter what.
Yeah.
And how can you find that if you can't open up and be yourself? Like, yeah.
Well, in the words of RuPaul, oh gosh, now I've put on the line. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love somebody else?
Can I just do that for you?
Oh, butchered that. I butchered that. Oh.
No. And look what
I built that thought up for so long.
Yes. I've never seen the tarot cards before.
My mom ordered them for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, the stupid bitch just chose to just give you the cards and make you read online what the symbols were. It's like, oh yeah, pick 3 and then Google the results. I'm like, fuck you, give me a.
Oh yeah, and well, both results, upside down and right way up.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Every card has
exactly.
2 meanings.
Yes, they do exactly.
Talking to
Yeah,
two
it's
individuals.
just crazy. Oh, sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
It's like, because Hero's a huge RuPaul Drag Race fan, and you're talking to 2 other people that are huge.
Oh yeah. Like we have watched every single episode, and
Right.
Untucked as well. And,
Yes.
I don't know. RuPaul makes the world a better place. So.
Canada and Holland and
Yes.
Thailand and all of the spin-offs and stuff.
Yes.
But also, though, I mean, he might be a frickin' fracker, but who gives a shit? You got to do something and continue making money. So if you're going to be doing it, at least you talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I was having a rough time emotionally, and Julia's like, "You have to watch this YouTube clip," and it was the Sasha Velour Rose Petal like lip sync battle.
Yeah.
And I watched that, and it was just like, these people are just they are so in love with what they're doing, and they're so passionate. And then you saw like Sasha Velour's dad in the front row clapping and crying, and I even now I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But it was like, that's
I get so emotional, baby.
Love it.
Well done.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no, it was the emotion that I needed at that time in my life. It was like, you know what? Curb all the guy ego things. These are people who are living their best life and wanting to share love and share what they enjoy.
Yes.
And they're unapologetic about it.
Yes.
And I was moved. And from that point on, I went back and watched all the seasons that she had seen. Amazing. So I could catch up to where the current market is. And now it's like, if RuPaul's on, like 10 minutes after it's been posted, we're watching it.
Of course, I know, and it's interesting with COVID and productions and stuff with the current season, how they are adapting, and it's really neat. I'm curious to see how this season's going to go down.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That is, I love that, and I like just how you just admitted that, because it's beautiful. It is like they really do capture what it's like just to, like you said, unapologetically be yourself, and that's kind of what we're talking about, right? So it's
on this podcast, totally.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually have who do we have on the show coming up, Hero?
You want me to share who it is?
Or why not? Because
we have Canadian resident queen Scarlett Bobo.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Maddie Cameron is coming on the show and is actually in Vancouver and lives in Kitsilano.
That's super cool.
Oh, I love it. I'm getting goosebumps.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's amazing.
It was a good segue to saying
It is, totally.
It was a little,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
Whatevs.
Exactly. Well, and
you
also
know who we are.
Well, yeah, and we were thinking about people, like, again, I've said this in another episode, Rachel's like, Hero, like, always tell me that you got to follow people, you got to outreach to people, you got to do this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know, but I don't know who the fuck to contact. And then all of a sudden I just kind of said, okay, I'm going to do it. And now we're booked all the way up into the end of March with different guests, and we're to be determined for all of April already. Like, it's insane. Just because of the people that are interested. Guys. And so it's funny, Rachel's like, I told you to stop. And I'm like, it's not like I'm trying to stop. People are not reaching out to us. I can't just stop this.
when the universe opens up to you,
you're on the right path.
And and people are drawn to that positive light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be that beacon of light that the world needs, and people will be drawn to you.
From one asshole to another.
Yes.
Oh my. Before, because I know I can't believe we're coming up onto an hour already almost. Would you like to talk a little bit about the Scleroderma Network Foundation?
Sure. Since we've spoken last, my health has been taking the front, the driver's seat. So not a lot's happened right now, but basically the Scleroderma Network is a non-for-profit foundation that Julie and I co-founded and I'm running. The goal is right now throughout 2021 is to have my experiences being posted up on YouTube and to basically create a online site that gives good, safe resources that I say we, Julia, has researched that are trustworthy and good places to start. And a big part of that is because scleroderma, like 10 years ago, it was a very different animal and very different knowledge about it. and all that information is still online. So there's a really scary level of, if you get diagnosed with systemic sclerosis or scleroderma, you can go on and just see average life expectancy, you know, as low as 5 to 10 years. Lower.
Yeah, depending on the type.
Yeah. And mine is the type that would be the lowest life expectancy. I have the most aggressive form of it. And it's a really negative headspace and bad place to try to navigate it, especially from an emotional spot.
But not only that, there are a lot of untrustworthy sources out there that are scamming you, like that just want your money. And it's scary because there are treatments out there that, you know, are just, you know, fluff and won't actually do anything. But, you know, they're pushing it because they're like, oh yeah, give us $40,000 and, you know, it's a magical cure, and and it's not. And
completely naive and just like what Julia was saying, you know, hopeful with just that, you know, people are intrinsically good. But I did not know that. That's and I'm assuming, like, if this is the case for scleroderma, it'd probably be the same case for cancer, for like all these kinds of things. So when you
100%,
like myself, who gets riddled with health anxiety, goes down the route of Dr. Google, like, don't do.
It's so scary too, because we had lots of family members saying, oh, well, have you tried this? You know, like coming to us with things, you know, thinking, genuinely trying to help, but bringing us things that, like, I knew, because I am a crazy research person, were not, you know, some of them weren't valid, or not that they weren't valid, but they weren't effective. They hadn't been researched enough, or just straight up were scams, you know. And it's so scary because people are really good at scamming. You know, right now.
Well, and the thing with us is, I was so ill, we were seeing my rheumatologist every week or every other week. So we were talking to her about, or Julia was talking to her about these things she found, and getting firsthand feedback. Whereas most people don't Google research and then like go and sit with a specialist and discuss what they've learned. More people often will just send it out into the world. And it's this muddied water that can make things scarier, more dangerous, life-threatening. And a lot of the stuff out there right now for scleroderma, which isn't a ton, is very medical doctor-based. So you can read the same write-up about scleroderma. You can read the same reports about scleroderma, but it affects you so differently and affects so many different things. And scleroderma turns into other diseases, like my heart and lung issues. I am the same as many people who have, I have interstitial lung disease, where that's from my disease, but I also have right heart failure and pulmonary hypertension. Like, these are all diseases that people just get on their own that are life-threatening. So it's like, you can't just say, oh, you have scleroderma. It's like, no, I have scleroderma, I have myositis, I have retinal dysfunctions, I have blah, 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 blah. You can talk to people about all of those things. You know, there are people suffering from all those things. So it's sort of like, there's very few patient-oriented sites that really get into the fact that this is a mess of a disease. And we want people, as it gets bigger, to share what they're going through. So we can have a bit of a community amongst patients.
I love that. So the goal would be to have that, but also, my goodness, but also to have just reliable information that you can share about the disease, I guess, as well on your site. And so with the YouTube, I think, you already have a YouTube channel for scleroderma?
Well, I do have it. Nothing's been posted up. I was trying to get things going before this, but the thing is, we set this up in such a way that the information for you to go research the disease is there right now.
Okay.
Sclerodermanetwork.com.
Yeah.
And
I've posted links to a forum that I trust, where, there's going to be information on the forum that you have to be careful of. But thankfully, most members who are part of this forum will go on and, regulate it a bit, and at least like leave a comment like, hey, if you're reading this, make sure to do your research first, because, it hasn't been clinically proven or something. So, and then you have access to people's information from all over the world that have, a variety of different types of this disease. So,
Absolutely. So I just because I'm curious, because Julia, you were saying that the doctor in Kelowna whom Ben was her first patient with scleroderma, and you kind of were not almost educating her, but I guess because you do so much research, you were offering up a potential, drug or things that you had heard of, and that's what Ben, I think, is still currently on. Mm-hmm. So
IVIG, that's where I found out about IVIG, was on this forum. Okay. And I mean, it's not something that, like, it for him, it was kind of a miracle cure, and it's not something that a lot of doctors are going to prescribe.
Not cure, treatment.
Yeah, sorry, it's not a treatment. It's not a cure, it's a treatment. Yeah. It's like, Ben thankfully has responded really well to it, but doctors are going to go for the things that have the most proven results first, and unfortunately they weren't working for Ben. So this has been a huge help for him. And that's the problem, is because everyone's disease is different, all the different treatments out there, they're either going to work or they're not. And the doctors are going to go with what's proven. And it was kind of on a whim. It was like a last ditch effort that they gave him this when he was in ICU, and it helped him so much for that one treatment that eventually, when he started, even though he was out of ICU and recovered in some ways, his myositis hit, and it is a recommended treatment for myositis. And as soon as they started giving him that, we saw a huge improvement.
Well, the hard thing too with this disease is most treatments take months to take action. So for me, when I was going downhill so fast, it was a race to see whether my body would survive versus finding a treatment that my body could work with. So it's like chemo, first on like immunosuppressants, and that wasn't curbing it. And then it was like, okay, we're stepping it up to chemotherapy, but the rest of my body was shutting down. So chemotherapy was actually killing me. They stopped after 3 treatments because they figured I wouldn't survive the next one. So then they took me off all the drugs and hoped that I would just come around. So, I mean, this is the game you play with this disease. And the hard part is you have to wait so long. Like even IVIG took 3-4 months before I saw my first day of noticeable improvement.
Wow.
or level off.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you just don't have the time to try all of them before things get past the point of no return.
Yeah. And you really, really need to be an advocate for yourself, or have someone who can advocate for you, because I mean, thankfully we've had such great doctors. But the doctors aren't always going to be around. And we, there were a number of times where, we really needed to advocate for Ben, and kind of fight some doctors a little bit. And, thankfully we did, because, his life was on the line. So you really need to know your stuff.
Well, and I'll say this too, and this was speaking directly to that, is when you're in the hospital, the doctor in that ward is the person who drives all of your treatment.
Yeah.
If you are not comfortable with that doctor, but you have doctors who use specialists, like my rheumatologist, my all my lung doctors and heart doctors, if you have people you trust, I say, and they've told us this after the fact, is call us, get in contact with us. If you cannot advocate for yourself and there's something not happening that's not right, overstep that doctor and contact us directly, because like we've had doctors who are in their own head that are like, well, your tests don't say that, and so you're fine. Whereas we've learned with me is I will get symptoms months before my blood work really shows the fallout that's happening. So doctors will look at my blood work and they'll be like, you're crazy. I've had doctors try to prescribe me, you know, Ativan and heavy like anxiety meds. And I'm like, I'm not having anxiety. I'm feeling, I'm having
to you,
but yes, I'm feeling heart failure starting again. Like this was weeks after I got out of ICU. I'm like, I feel the exact same feelings of heart failure that I had that sent me to ICU 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you're not listening.
I need you to do this test because I think I'm going back into heart failure. And they'll go, your blood work says not, so no. And we waited about a week to get tests done. And finally they got done. And it showed exactly what I felt. That doctor took no ownership and basically actually took ownership of finding it and saying, hey, you're welcome for me finding this. And then when I spoke to all my specialists who had happened to come in that week to check on me, which they don't need to, so I thank them so much for everyone for how much they put in, but they were just like, never again let yourself be in that situation. Call us.
Yeah.
Do not let a doctor leave you in the lurch. You have support.
Amazing.
And that's just like, and it's interesting because Julia took the words out of my mouth about being an advocate for yourself or for your loved ones or whatever it is, because, you know, you can't, I mean, we're fortunate to live in Canada because my God, like in the States, you know, where we can just go and get these tests done and not have to pay for most of them, almost pretty much all of them, I would have to say. I mean, yes, we might have to wait, but if you're an advocate for yourself, I mean, that truly is the most important things, and just never give up and constantly ask questions. Like, you know, that's another thing.
But I briefly need to step in here and say that because my dad, being the person he was, and when he was looking after my brother, because it was really like, my dad's a lawyer and he will not take shit from anybody, right? And so that's a perfect example of where my dad, same as you, Julia, did all the research about leukemia, about acute lymphocytic leukemia, and Zach being an adolescent in a kid's ward because he was in between the admittance of St. Paul's or Children's. So he did the cutoff for Children's because he was 15. He wasn't 16 yet, right? All those things, right? And so from that, like you are and will continue to do with what Ben is experiencing, those results have come into having fundraising and an endowment fund in my brother's name to bring education to people in the health sector of that cancer, to treat people that have chronic leukemia and blood cancers and stuff with that are adolescents, right? Like knowing there's resources for adolescents, not just for pediatric or for adult. You know, but if my dad's willingness and my dad's nature had not been as strong as it was, who knows what kind of information or what kind of tactics might have been, maybe in good intention, might have been exercised that maybe weren't actually. And thankfully, because of having a parent that did the work, made sure that their kid received the best care that they could receive, despite it not working out in the end of the picture, right?
Yeah. And
people,
you know, I think for those that are listening right now or watching, you know, find someone you trust, listen to your gut, listen to your heart. I mean, we all want to kind of expect that the professionals or those that are experts will know the answers 100% and that we can rely on them. And for you know, hopefully for a lot of them we can. But, you know, just even like Ben was saying, like those few doctors that were just like, no, call me. And then you knew that you could trust them. Like one person is all it really takes.
Yeah.
So,
and, you know, if you have any sort of disease or anything, make sure, even if you don't, have a doctor that you trust and be good to that doctor, you know, like be friends with that doctor if you can, because you know, they will fight for you. And we've been so blessed that, you know, we have had such, like, doctors that have taken such an interest in Ben, and, you know, have like developed an emotional connection to him, because, you know, they really are what, you know, has helped. They are a crucial part in what's helped save his life. So yeah.
Oh, well, you guys, I wish this would go on forever and ever and ever, because it can. I know it could, because we all like to talk and we have this connection. All four of us have this connection now. But look, I keep showing my fire extinguisher in the back.
Nice. Safety first.
Exactly. Protection.
Fires to put out right now, but anyway, any parting words, or if there's something that you feel like we haven't talked about, or even just not to put thought for like words of wisdom, but or anything, your relationship, just anything that you feel.
Sure. I'm glad you've given me 45 minutes to answer your question.
Let me give you the Cole's notes.
No, I really truly believe that, just like when dealing with something like this, not only if you have a caretaker like me, I do with Julia, respect them and put effort into understanding that they're going through a hard time with this, and that they should be respected, and they are a crucial part of your ability to heal and ability to live. So, and for those who are looking from the outside, if you know there's a relationship that's close, whether it be a husband, wife, or friend, or mother, father, or like whatever, who's connected to the person who's ill, take time to ask the caretaker how they're doing, because they often need it a lot more than the person dealing with the disease. At least I assume.
Mm-hmm.
He's so sweet.
But no, honestly, people don't realize how important that person is and how much they're going through. So caretakers.
And
you.
He's my sweetheart. See, like, look at how selfless he is.
She saved my life. I respect and I understand that. Without Julia in my life, I would not be here right now, period.
oh my gosh. Well, I'm on that note, and it couldn't be said at a better time with the pandemic going on, and with all these caretakers in the world and the first responders and those kinds of things. I mean, yeah, we're starting to perk up and ask them how they're doing, and, you know, trying to deal with their mental health and all those kinds of things now too. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for coming back, and maybe we'll do a part 3 one day.
Well, if Hero would stop booking everyone all the way till June 2022.
Yeah, guilty. Yeah, I know. Rachel's like, stop it! I'm like, I'm not trying to, and now it's happening on its own.
We're going to be too small for them the next time they have.
No, that's a mandate of our podcast is that everyone is welcome, and we want to balance those people that we have. So that is definitely not the case.
Well, we love what you guys are doing.
Yes,
and
we really do. You guys, again, I said it before, but you know, you guys are a beacon of light in this dark time. So keep on keeping on.
Well, thank you. The light is definitely shining through, and it just seems like all of our windows are receiving it. So
love it.
Okay, well, be well. I'll talk to you soon, obviously, and yeah, we'll put this bad boy out in the next few days, and I'll let you know, and I'll send you the links, and we'll share the crap out of it. So
yeah,
good. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Take care.
All the best.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Much love. Bye.